What's up, everyone, and welcome to the RRBG podcast. In this episode, I talked to Jasan Radford of the band Centershift and formerly of Onesidezero. They have a new EP out called A Different Shade, which you can listen to now. It's part of a 3-part EP series, the next one being Of, which will be available in late July, early August. They're going to be hitting the road to support that as well. We talked a little bit about the writing process for those EPs, what it's like to come back to music after a short break that he took. We talked about his new sobriety. We talked about mental health and dealing with certain issues like domestic abuse and suicide prevention. We talked about the algorithm that musicians have to deal with in order to get their music out to the world, and a whole bunch of other things. It was a great conversation. I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure to follow them at Centershift_OG. Make sure to listen to that EP, A Different Shade, which is available now. Click subscribe down there and hit the little bell so you can get notifications when we put out new episodes. And if you get a chance, check out our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/RRBG, get some exclusive content, and help support the show. Cheers. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the RRBG podcast. I'm here with Jasan Radford of Centershift and formerly of Onesidezero, right?
That's correct.
Hey. How you doing today?
Good, man. Happy Friday to you and to everybody.
Happy Friday. Quick sip of our sponsor's coffee, Thunderking Coffee. Thank you. You guys are the best. So you're in Los Angeles. You're getting ready to, are you going to go on tour for Centershift?
We got some shows coming up in LA. We're going to be doing July 30th with Boy Hits Car, who's coming back around with a new record.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a lot of history with Boy Hits Car from Onesidezero and my past band Blueprint back in the day. So I've known them for a long time, and great dudes. Really excited that they're coming out with something new. And then, yeah, there's talks, because of coming out of COVID, there's a lot of, a lot of bands coming out. So for us we had to get a new agent. Our agency from before it closed down. So a lot of stuff in the talks and in the works right now, but now that we're coming out of COVID, thank God that yes, we plan to be on the road. I think quite extensively.
Hell yeah, that's the key. That's what we need. Bands on the road. I know that obviously safety and health is very important too, but it's just I need more shows.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I mean, I love playing them and I love going to them. So the fact that like a lot of my friends are out, it's amazing. So.
That's great. Yeah. So Centershift has an EP out called Different Shade. Mm-hmm. And it's an EP, but it's 7 tracks. Is it standard? Like, what's this? I don't even know anymore. Like, what qualifies an EP? I thought it meant like 3 tracks or something like that.
Yeah, it's 3 to 7. 7 being the last one. Anything over 7 is considered LP. So
okay.
We wanted to, we'd done a lot of singles. And so we wanted to give as much as we could to everybody without it being the full length yet, because the plan for this year is we have another EP dropping soon. We have a single coming out, brand new single on July 29th, called From Where We Are. And then in between that, we'll have another EP dropping. And then we plan on dropping the full length before the end of the year. So it'll be, it's a 3-part thing, and for everybody at the end they're getting some extra little toys, some cool stuff. So we put a lot of work into it to get it out this year, and we feel that doing it in the 3 parts is going to be really cool. So it's the first one is A Different Shade ... The second one will be Of. It's called Of, OF. And then the third is really kind of what's the different shade of. So that's going to be the answer for the LP. Try to do something creative and cool, and bring people back into wanting the lyrics and wanting the package and wanting to own the record. Whereas for us as music listeners and fans, I love having that. You know what I mean? And if there's something cool going on with the release of everything, you're not just downloading it, but there's something cool behind it. I think is really cool and fun.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, for me, it's the same way. Whenever there's a band putting out something that I love, I like to get their collector's package or whatever they're putting out, just to not only to support, but also just to get into the whole vibe of the album, everything that you guys are putting your hard work and time into, Yeah. And it's a concept that I've seen it done only a handful of times. I know like Failure did it a couple years back where they did 3 EPs and then they just released it as an album. Right. But I do like that idea, especially for these times where they're a little different. For music nerds like myself will buy everything, but the general populace is consuming music in a different way now than they were, say back in the Onesidezero days.
Right.
They want little bits. What's going to stream today? What's going to show up in my weekly Discover playlist or whatever it is,
Yeah. And I think that, like I said, we went back in the studio to, one, because, now we have Ryan on guitar from Shovel, and we have a new drummer that used to play with me back in Blueprint, Stefan Strachey. And we just felt we needed to put something together that everybody that's in the band that, we just got really creative. So we wanted everybody to be a part of the record. So not only is it going to be the stuff that you got through the EPs and the singles, but you'll also get some extra tracks.
Nice. Very nice. Now, their musical style is, I wouldn't say similar to Onesidezero, but I mean, it is melodic hard rock type music. Would you say? Yeah.
Me being one of the writers of One Side, it's hard to get away from that. You know what I mean? We wanted Centershift to just be honest. So if that's what we wrote, that's what we wrote. And everybody has a hand in the writing, now. So it's a lot more. The first songs that came out were basically Ted and I, the bass player Ted. And so that's where those things came from. As far as, I wish I could turn that off. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
As far as from the beginning to where we're at now, everything was songs that I had kind of from Onesidezero days or after, and then moving on to where we're at now with everybody writing. So I would say that there's definitely some Onesidezero influence as being one of the writers, but or sound similar, but I think Centershift's kind of taken its shape, and you'll see the growth in each release. So as it's being 3 parts, I really feel that you'll see the growth of the band becoming a band. And so everybody's kind of going on that journey with us, which I think is really exciting, because in one record, in one release, in 1 year, you're going to get the whole progression of the beginning of this band.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, it's hard to escape it when you're the vocalist, you know what I mean? Your voice is so distinct too. You got a very, to me, because I used to sing in a group, and that's my thing is the vocals. And I'm always super picky with, people are like, oh, check out this band or check out that band. The first thing I listen to is the vocals. If the vocals don't sell me, I can't, as great as the musical instrumentation may be, I just can't, if I can't get past the vocals, Yeah. And to me, you have a very distinct vocal style. I back in the 2000s when, One Side was out, like I was hooked, to the what was the name of the album? I forget now. The one that had Instead Laugh and Awake.
Is This Room Getting Smaller?
Is This Room Getting Smaller? Right. I was hooked on that album, and I kept showing people and, trying to spread the love as much as I could. But
thank you.
Man, you have a very distinct vocal style, so it's kind of hard to escape the comparisons,
I appreciate it. And some of that is it's hard to get away from, if you're a singer and you are who you are. We came out at a time of, the Perfect Circles and Tool was there going, and, there's comparisons and stuff like that. And, you wish that you didn't get that because you are your own individual, but, the guy's pretty amazing. So I take it as a compliment. So.
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh, you sound like Maynard. Well, thanks.
Yeah. Of course you want to be your own individual, but he's pretty phenomenal. So
yeah, it's like if an athlete is like doing great, and they're like, oh, you're like Michael Jordan. It's like, thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
But yeah, it's like I said, your voice, even though there were some similarities in that time period, because they just the melodic stylings, or maybe like holding out a specific note or whatever it may be, there's some similarities, but it is a very distinct tone that I got from your voice. So when I put on Centershift, I was like, oh yes, it's this, it's there, it's not missing. That element is not missing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you lyrically for this album, for the EP, and for everything that's coming forward, because lyrically on what you were doing with One Side was very heavy in terms of mental health and talking about, suicide, talking about, any kind of abuse that people were dealing with. And I feel like the music video that you guys put out for the track, I have it right here pulled up, and so was also themed over, domestic violence and everything like that. So is that something that will permeate throughout the rest of the EPs and the albums? Is that something that's, obviously it's a direct connection to you. You're the one writing the lyrics.
Right. I think that it's important that we bring an awareness to things that are kind of swept under the rug or quiet. That wasn't a conscious thought necessarily, like, hey, let's go out and write something about this. It was just kind of the way that the song made me feel, and Ted actually brought that song in, and so musically, and I wrote to what it made me feel. And as we got with recording it and going this whole thing, the video concept came, and with the director Ben Trandom, he really touched what the song was about, and I wasn't trying to be blatant with it, and it wasn't, like I said, it all kind of came out naturally, but it was definitely along the lines of, okay, this is what I wrote, you know what I mean? Let's touch base on it, and let's make it a little more visual and bring awareness to this. From that, the record's got a lot of, I write from personal experience. I write from, we just came out of COVID, the 2 years of lockdown, people got sick, people died, such a tragedy. And then coming out of that, there's a lot of creative and a lot of art that came out of that as well. So for us, writing the record during all that time and recording it, and then coming out into where we're at now, I just kind of shared my growth or my own personal experiences, and life changes for myself. And if people relate to them, sorry, I got construction. If people relate to that, then that's awesome. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of what I feel my opportunity and chance to play music is to do, is to be the voice for people that don't necessarily have it or don't know how to use it, kind of thing. The One Side record, Is This Room Getting Smaller? It was 12 days in someone's life, and that came together organically. And I kind of feel like this Centershift record, when you get the full package, you're going to see, like I said, the growth of the band, but you're going to see the transitions of someone's life, the ups and downs, and the really how beautiful it could be,
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, present in the lyrics, like I said, the whole heaviness of the mental health issues. And you said you speak from personal experience. I wonder, how were you during the pandemic? Were you struggling with your mental health like everybody else is doing? Because I hear conversations, people are like, oh, new metal's coming back, or like the early 2000s era of music is coming back. And I feel that it's because everybody is kind of dealing with these kind of internal struggles now, like post pandemic.
Yeah, I think that, yes, everybody's got a touch of the mental health. There's something that hit everybody, whether it be extreme or whether it be less. And I see it a lot, we deal with people and I talk with people a lot, and to see the difference of levels of it. For myself, you don't know that you're necessarily in it or struggling with something until after you come out of something and go, whoa, this kind of affected me. I made the choice for myself to enter sobriety. I quit drinking, you know what I mean? I think that there was a lot of stuff that could have gone really bad, you know what I mean, with the things, and using drugs or alcohol as an escape or a crutch. I think I've done that in the past in my life, and this was a good opportunity for me to be, if I'm going to be honest and real and write some music and get this opportunity again, I'm going to do it for real. And you know what I mean? And that's where it's at. And so I think that everybody battled their own demons, and maybe still, so if I can be a little bit of example of the positive of it, of coming out of this with dealing with the issues that, because it's different levels for everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I can be somewhat of an example or any positivity at all, that's where I'm coming from. And so I hadn't really brought that up, but I appreciate you asking, because I think it was time that people know that, there's a whole network of people out there as us as artists that are all in sobriety, that are there for each other and there for anybody, so it's all about giving back.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate that a lot. I mean, I myself, I work in the alcohol business, so it's kind of, it's a rough path to kind of try not to drink every day, try not to do that. Just because it's there, just because it's free, doesn't mean you should take it, and I'm not a bad drinker in terms of, do violent outbursts. I don't get aggressive. To me, I either get sleepy or I get the giggles.
Sure.
But I know that there's people that do end up having very traumatic, like mood swings. And so is that something that you dealt with? Like, what was the choice to go into sobriety? Like, what made that decision for you?
It was just it was time for me. Going through the lockdown and this and that, and for a part of it, I was able to still be out and out and about, but I could see it going dark very easily. You know what I mean? I think that because you're in touch with, like someone like me, because you're in touch with feelings and writing about them, and you're writing a record, and when we did Is This Room Getting Smaller, I couldn't sleep. I had like insomnia. You know what I mean? So. And that's because you're touching on stuff and writing something that you maybe don't think about every day, So at this time around, later in life, and you've got all the things. It's like, okay, you've been here, you've done that, you've toured all over, and you've had records out, and this and that, and you want it to be as honest and real as possible. And then you have this weight of not being able to go anywhere, kind of thing, and all the things that were going on during that time. So I saw it going dark very quickly and very easily, you know what I mean? And it could have gone that route. And it just kind of hit me. I was like, you know what, it's really time. And it wasn't necessarily I'm going to do this. It was like, I just think it's time, and this is what's up, and better yourself and be more real and aware. You know what I mean? I would say that I'm definitely, I'm awake. You know what I mean? You're out of the fog. And this isn't like for my choices are not for anybody else. You know what I mean? Everybody's got their own life. And that's what's beautiful about life, is that everybody gets to do their own thing. And for me, it's just a choice. And if it's there for somebody to ask questions or, like whatever, you know what I mean? It was a blast. And I just see it so much better. For me, it's so much better.
Was it a problem where you were drinking daily, like after, getting home from work or something? Or was it just like on the road? Like, was it like a serious problem for you? Or was it more just kind of being health conscious and all that?
Well, a little bit of all of that, definitely, as, you have the delusion of being a rock star when you're out on the road, and all this stuff. And it was like battling two people. I love being around, meeting new people and fans and people that could be fans or that. And then, but yeah, we were getting drunk. I was getting drunk, daily on tour, and your day started at maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and went all the way through the show until the end of the night. And then you're doing it again the next day. So it's just that vicious cycle, and then getting home and still trying to think that you're in that limelight or that mentality. And it was hard to break away from one from the other sometimes. Right. So there's no reason to be drinking that way or thinking you're a rock star when you're making eggs in the morning.
Right. So, did you find it that maybe it was like occasionally would it get worse when you were at home? Because I feel that you get I talk to a lot of musicians where they get into like a state of depression when they're not on the road, because they're so used to that life that when they're home, they kind of get more depressed and they drink more.
Yeah. The transition is different. For one side, we stayed on the road as much as we could, because I think that the stagnant or monotony of being at home when you're so used to something constantly, it will definitely get you. And then, I took a big break from music for a minute, and then to have it come back, honestly, it's kind of the opposite, where now here comes your career again. You know what I mean? You're getting the opportunity to do this again. And it was almost like a fear of success, or a fear of, you know what I mean? And insecurity. Us as artists, we're not like, hey, we portray, or when we get on stage, you feel like that's really who you are and you have this thing. But there's a lot of insecurity in us, in which creates the artist, or us as being artists in general. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why we write so openly, because it's able to express that. So the insecurity kicked in, and, all of it just compiled, you know what I mean? And so like I said, it, started drinking more, started looking at other things, you know what I mean? Anything to quench what was really going on or subdue it, and it just wasn't. I had to make the change, you know what I mean, for me, and it was definitely 100% the right thing to do. So,
absolutely. I mean, I'm for some folks, like for me, I'm like I said, I'm struggling with not drinking every day and doing that, but I'm also not, like I said, a problem drinker. Like I'm not drinking a gallon or a pint of vodka, or I'll have a couple beers here or there, so it's not like I'm not getting blasted every night.
right.
You know what I mean? So to me, quitting like the drinking entirely, it would have to be more like a doctor would have to be like, hey, your liver's not doing great, you need to cut it back, and then I'll be like, okay, sure, and it wouldn't be, I wouldn't
Right.
be devastated.
No,
But
I get you. And I don't think it's all about the drinking, the fifth of Jack every day or things like that. It's more of the mental stuff as well. To go back and touching what first started this whole thing. If you've got stuff in there that you're not dealing with, well, this is going to quench it. And this is going to, take it away for the minute, you know what I mean? And that kind of thing. And that just leads on to continuing. And it really starts from inside, and it starts with, what we were talking about, the mental health. And I think that it's okay to have those feelings and have those issues and have those things, because not everybody doesn't. Everybody's got something, you know what I mean? And it's how you deal with it and where you deal with it and maybe asking for help.
Absolutely. And it's tough too when you see pop culture things like, you look at shows like a Family Guy or something that's super popular, and they're talking about like, oh, let's drink till we can't feel feelings anymore. And like, that's all well and good and funny when you're amongst friends or whatever. But when it becomes like a daily thing, that's troublesome because like you said, you're just covering a problem. You're putting duct tape over a cracked glass. You know what I mean? Like you're not fixing anything by drinking your problems away.
Exactly.
So I'm really happy for you. And I'm glad that you've found your path that way. And has it, I don't know, you haven't been much on the road since, but you haven't seen the temptation. Like that's another concern is, when the time comes and you're back on the road again, are you fearful that, the temptation might, strike?
No. I'm pretty, I run a pretty good program with myself, and I don't have the desire at all. We've done enough shows. The hardest part about it is when you've got 20 something years or more of playing shows, drinking or anything, and having some sort of
enhancer.
Yeah. So our first show ever was with Black Map, and it was it was my first show in sobriety. I wouldn't say just sober, because I've gone on stage without drinking, you know what I mean, but not in sobriety. So you talk about pulling the covers and being honest, you know what I mean? So you get out there is no comfort blanket. There is no armor. You are you 100%. And so that was the interesting thing. And it's still something new, because there's a lot more years of doing it this way than not. So it's using that nervousness and that insecurity and turning that into the power and being your armor, for me. And getting out there, and it's weird because you remember every single thing about your show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every single thing, the highlights and the lowlights and everything. And you're like, okay, this is where you want to do. And you become a little critical, but it's really you, you know what I mean? So for me, there was no temptation. There is no temptation. It's more of, I want to put on the best show I can possibly do, and portray what we're doing without, being too far in your head, because it's really easy to get in there because it's like, oh my God, everyone's looking at me, and they really are.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that note. And then you just kind of go down a spiral thinking about that one note,
Totally.
Oh man. Well, yeah, it's gotta be a struggle, but I'm happy for you. Like I said, I'm glad that things, you're not tempted, because that is a big issue with that. Now to kind of move away from the drinking and everything, what kind of brought you back? Cause you mentioned you took a break from music. What brought you back? What was it that kind of triggered like, oh, hey, I want to do music again?
I started writing all these songs, right? And then I picked up my guitar, and sometimes I think you need to take a break, to get your head straight. But, I started writing all these songs, and Ted and I started working together again, on these things. And then, COVID hit, and it gave us more time to really focus and go, hey, you know what? These are pretty cool. and then it started getting more serious from that. And so I would get an email from someone from a One Side fan and, are you doing anything and this and that? And I said, you know what, it's too cool. Everybody's so supportive of Onesidezero and so supportive of all of our careers individually that I just felt, let's see what's up, and trying not to have it sound like, oh, I need to do this because people want it. It was my appreciation and my love for our fans and my appreciation to them supporting us through all the years and supporting what we do individually and collectively, that I just, let's see what happens, and we started writing these really amazing songs, and the guys I write with are just phenomenal, and you can't
deny it.
Can't deny it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So not to get too personal, and if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to, but I know that musicians don't make a whole ton of money unless you're at a certain stratosphere. So where were you financially? Were you, stable enough during the break, or were you living off of money that you made from Onesidezero, or did you have do you have a craft that you do on the side aside from music?
Yeah, I think that every musician has a day job.
Yeah.
I worked in construction, so I was able to still do that for a while until some of the jobs got slowed down or shut down or stopped, because everyone was getting COVID on job sites.
Oof.
But, and then, I would love to say that One Side, living off One Side money, we did okay with certain things and deals that we signed as far as publishing, hence we were in A Walk to Remember, things like that. But this is really a hard industry. You know what I mean? You can't go in it with the delusion thinking you're going to make $1 million and live in Malibu.
Yeah.
So many other things you have to do, and in order to set up the longevity of your career, it's the other things. And for me, I started a management company because my theory of my whole being is you can't keep unless you give away. And this is before sobriety, before everything. This was always been my theory, that I was given this opportunity and gift as an opportunity to give to others. You know what I mean? So we're all in this together. You know what I mean? There's no award at the end of the day going, you were the best band in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're all doing this together. So let's be supportive. And I come from that, the punk rock scene and everything like that. It was a scene. It was a supportive group and music. You know what I mean? So we could do that with everybody. And that's where we started a company called Radford Media Group. And we work with artists that maybe could not be looked at or whatever. Just anything we can do to help, you know what I mean? So to further, push that along. And so with that, we started the label Auspicious Recordings. And we're with Tragic Hero and Warner right now.
Nice.
Yay. And then that is to help bands get the Spotify spins up and whatever we can do. It's funny to say that too, because at the same time, we have our band that's considered a baby band, regardless of our careers prior, which is fine. And we're trying to get our Spotify's up, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's the good and the bad, it's just the state of the industry and where we're at. But it's like, if I can be of an example of some of the rad times and some of the shit times, then, you can see the reality of what this is. And if it's for you, because it's not for everybody, it's a really hard life, but it's an amazing life as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird thing. So, you were there in the time when there wasn't so much of the music streaming going on. It was more about record sales and touring and record deals and stuff like that. But it was such an interesting ebb and flow that I've seen, where it went from that to, now people can make whatever they want with the tools that are the technology that we have. You can create music on your computer and send it to your friend in another state, and you guys can work on music, in a distance, and it's wonderful. But now there's another dip where it's like, okay, yeah, you can make all that music, but how do you break through the Spotify algorithm to even get people to see it? How do you break through the social media algorithms? Now, is there actually something that you can do that companies like the media company you have are doing for some of these musicians that are kind of they feel hopeless, I can't break the algorithm?
Yeah, that's a great question. Coming from you nail on the head, you hit it. We come from the old school where it was about album sales and this and that. There was no algorithm to that. You'd like the record, you bought it. You
Yeah.
didn't, you didn't. We also come from the time when Napster and all that was starting out as well. So for us, as it was affecting us as for record sales, it also helped with people finding out who Onesidezero was, right? So our tour, one of our first, very, very first tours was with Zebrahead, and we went out there cold, and all of a sudden, everybody in the place was singing our songs, opening up for Zebrahead, and we were like, how the hell do they know it? Well, the internet helped us with that because people were getting the songs, you know what I mean, and that kind of thing. So today, we had to start quickly figuring out how does this work, and we didn't know what algorithm was, you know what I mean, and this whole thing. So talking to companies that make, at a friend deal of $5,000 a month to do your social media stuff because they constantly monitor the algorithm, you start figuring things out like, oh, okay. So there's people that are so good at this. So for a band that's coming up and trying to figure out the algorithm, do not buy Spotify plays. It's going to stop. You want it to be legit. You want to do the footwork and stuff like that. And then you start being creative. You got to figure out how to be creative of the times to post, what to post. It's almost like a game, you know what I mean? The hashtags and the tagging and things like that, and the timing of it, you know what I mean? Thinking that you can keep flooding everything, like back for us, PR, everything was flooding. You're going to flood the market with posters everywhere, and people are going to know who you are, and stickers. You'd hired street teams, right?
Yeah.
So you think that way in social media, and it actually works against you. You know what I mean? So it's like less is more. And it's really kind of cool that the industry is going that route, or whatever your business might be. But for us in this industry, it's 100% less is more.
Yeah.
And, that's really where it's at. So for a band that's struggling with it, it's going to get really frustrating, because it's been for us as well, of figuring out what that algorithm is, and that's the difficult thing.
Yeah, I would say don't lose hope, but it's so hard, even for myself. Like, I'm not in a band anymore, but just getting to show in the hands of folks, I talk to a lot of the people that are doing it, that are getting the numbers. And, some people say, like what you said, less is more. Some people are saying, like, I post 5 reels a day, and that's how I get, 50,000 views. It's because maybe they don't see all 5, but they'll see one of those 5. You know what I mean? It's a weird, and I feel like there is no set rules, like you just kind of have to figure it out and guess. But yeah, like the advice you gave, don't buy Spotify plays, and don't buy clicks, like follows or likes on Instagram. Like, oh, you can get 10,000 followers if you pay $20.
Right.
That is all fake. And Instagram actually does work to get rid of some of those bot accounts that, will just disappear from your numbers eventually,
Plus, the proof's in the pudding. You want it to be legit. You want to be organic. And if you have 800,000 streams on your Spotify, but 5 people come to your show,
yep.
There's some reality there, and people notice that, and you want it to be real. So I would just say, keep it real. That's really where it's at. And you're right. The algorithm and the whole thing changes like minute by minute, it seems. And no one really freaking knows how it works. I think people got a good hook on certain aspects of it, but that's kind of the way it is. You know what I mean? You gotta play the game, and it's fun. It sucks, but it's fun.
Do you think that the time will come where it'll be different again? Like, it's completely different now than it was back in 2001. So do you think that'll happen again, where maybe all this will change? It'll be more of a more open or more beneficial for artists and musicians, because right now it's not as, like, people complain all the time, like the Spotify, even if you get natural plays, you're still only getting paid like, a fraction of a penny.
Yeah.
I've seen checks from friends of mine. They're like, hey, we got 100,000 plays on Spotify, and they send us $5. You know what I mean? Like, it's wild. So do you think there'll be a time where we can move into something that's a little more beneficial to musicians? And, have you thought about that, or what it could possibly be?
We think about it constantly, because, it's always been this kind of thing. Even with, the major record deal, you had to sell, almost 1 million copies to make any kind of real money, or any kind of money like that. So it's always been touring, and it's always been your merchandising. And it's always been those types of things. So if there were anything to change, it seems like it would have been changed already. But I would hope and wish that there'd be some way to, I mean, it's pretty regulated now, but yeah, the streams and the amount of money that you make off your streams are nothing. Where that can change, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because it's always been this way. And a lot of people have tried to make a difference and change it, you know what I mean? And as far as that, and when the streaming started, we didn't get paid a dime for it. You know, there was that big battle on, hey, wait a minute, we have to charge the digital, and the labels wanted it because they wanted their money, you know what I mean? Because they're forking out so much money as recoupable money to the bands, you know, they want to make sure they're getting all their money back no matter how. So that's what started the whole thing that we even get paid on digital, because XM radio and all that stuff, we weren't getting any, or internet radio, let's not use a specific one, but any internet radio, we weren't getting paid for at all in the beginning. You know what I mean? So that was a big battle. And when that finally happened, it was like, cool, another point of a cent. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it sucks, you know, but everybody, you go in this game, and I hope that, like I said, I'll reiterate it. I hope that you know that you go in this game knowing that you're not going to make the money off your sales. You know what I mean? And hopefully you do very well that you do, but which is kind of the cool thing, because it means you have to be on the road. You know, go and meet your fans, go and shake their hands, go and take those pictures, and meet the people that are going to support you, that love you. They're there to see you, you know what I mean? And so go out and do your job. You know, that's what I try to tell, you know, our artists and stuff like that. Go out and do your job, go kick ass. You know what I mean? It's worth it.
I'll never understand certain musicians that, you know, don't do the autographs or don't do the photos after shows. Like, you know, that's pretty much, that's the work. Like you said, that's the work you got to do if you want to get out there. Otherwise, people be like, oh, that guy was a jerk. I asked for a picture. He said, no, I'm not going to buy his album, you know?
Yeah, and it means a lot. I mean, they're there supporting you. You know what I mean? You're not there as the gift of God, you know, kind of thing. And it's, you know, I've met, and we've met some of the coolest people, and we'd never have that opportunity if you didn't do that. You know what I mean? And that's what this is, to me, that's what this is about. You know, it's yes, you'd love the sales and have your music out there, but it's the opportunity to be all over the place and meet the coolest people and do those things and have the experiences with them and just be real, you know?
Would you say that right now what we have is better than what we had in 2000? In terms
different. You know, it's different, as in, the artist has a lot more control than you did back then. You know what I mean? You can either do it all yourself or maybe get a deal and still kind of doing it all yourself. You know what I mean? It's a lot more hands-on, which I think is very cool. But yeah, very different.
Because I feel like labels don't want to make bands anymore. They want you to make yourself, and then they'll just kind of lift you up with that, you know?
Yeah, if you are self-supportive, they are there for you. If you can do more yourself, then, you know, it's more about having, you know, the panache of having the label name behind you or something like that. There are a lot of labels that give a shit, you know, and so finding them might be the hard thing. So I think there's a lot of labels that are still about the music, but I know for a fact that a lot of the bigger ones go directly to your YouTube and your Spotify's and see that. They don't even listen to the tune. They they look at numbers and not even, it could be on mute and numbers. And so really it's like, it's a bummer, you know, it's really a bummer, but there are some really good labels out there and indie labels that are doing really well, that care about their bands and that are helping them, you know, because you still need the support to get out there. A band can't just go tour.
Yeah.
You know? You got to have the support. And so finding them is maybe difficult, but maybe not. You know, I think that what I do see is everything's coming around full circle. Like I said, we're playing with Boy Hits Car. Last time we did our first tour, One Side was with them. We did like a 4-day run or a 5-day run way back in early 2000 or 99 or something like that. And but my old band before that in the mid 90s was playing with them. And everything comes full circle, which I also feel that it's happening in the industry as well, where a lot of the labels are looking at this and going, you know, where's the music? You know what I mean? Where are the bands with the songs and the guys that are working their butts off 8 hours a day in rehearsal to write these songs and make them the most beautiful thing they've ever written in their life, and then have another one of the most beautiful thing they've ever written in their life? I think there's people still are turning it back to that. I think that that's going to make a resurgence for labels, and there's going to be about the music of the bands, and there's going to be, you know, everybody wrote all these great records during COVID, you know what I mean, they're coming out, and I think that that's the kickstart of where this is going to go. I really feel that it's going to be about the music again.
I hope so, man. I hope so. It's always been the case for me in terms of, you know, I have over 400 vinyl records, and I feel like that's coming back. You know, I mean, it's been back for a while, but now if you don't have a vinyl record when you put out a new album, people are like, "What? What's wrong with you? Where is it?" And it's weird because, you know, we grew up through a time period where we kind of progressed past media. Like, it was records and it was cassettes, or, you know, it was 8-tracks and it was records and cassettes and CDs, and then, you know, now it's streaming. So going, like you said, full circle back to vinyl. I hope we don't get 8-tracks though. Those things suck.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's all about the product too, of not necessarily the product, but of the physical copy that a fan can get and have you sign it, or something to walk away with, because I loved that. And so I was hoping that the streaming thing would do something, and it's really cool with the QR code, and we do it, where you can instantly download, you know, the EP or the single or whatever at the show when you go to the merch booth or whatever. And on the stickers, we put it on our stickers, but that gives the feeling of leaving the show with that CD. You remember you'd go to the show and you'd buy the CD and have the band sign it, and then you'd open it up and put it in your, or you buy two to open one, listen to, the other one to keep, and you'd play it on your way home in your CD player, if no one has those anymore in their cars. But that feeling of you're walking away with the product and you're just so happy and stoked, you know what I mean? And I was hoping that things would go that route with the streaming way. There's got to be a way where it's like you have it on your phone and you're leaving there with that album, you know? And I think the QR code is kind of helping that. If bands don't have a QR code, do it, because you can use Linktree and get all of your info up there, and people can go, it's a one-stop shop, you know? People can go right and get everything on demand. And I think that that's important, because you do, in a way, leave with that CD in your hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so easy too. Like I kind of fought against QR codes in the beginning because I'm older, and I was just like, what is that? A bunch of boxes. But then when I realized I just got to aim my phone at it, and I don't need an extra app. I don't need anything else. It's just boom, and it's on my phone. That's great. I think that's a good way, you know, buy the record. That way you have the physical thing to take home, but also you want to hear it on the drive home, and you can't put in a record in your car. You know?
Right. Yeah, you can either scan it if you don't know, you know, where it's at, or go to your whatever you're if you're subscribed to Apple or whatever, you know what I mean, and just download it, but or just stream it. But I was totally against the QR code too, because it was all about restaurants, and it was during that time that we've been talking about so much of COVID, and you're like, yes.
I no menus. Now I got to pull out my phone to look at the menu. So are there any bands that newer bands that you're listening to right now that you are, you know, kind of sticking out or in your rotation?
You know, I love the bands that we have that we're working with. Envision out of the Gulf Coast area. They're doing very well. Don't Panic out of Arizona has a single out called Time Machine. They're working on their records. That's coming out. They're really good. I love our bands that we work with, so I'm kind of, you know, I guess biased on that. But, you know, for me, let's see, new stuff. I mean, I love Black Map. I think I'm kind of in a genre, you know, go back and, you know, I'm going to say it, but I kind of dig Turnstile.
Oh, they're so good.
They're really good.
I love that new album, Glow On. I've been listening to it since it came out. Every day it's on my rotation.
Yeah, me too. And I went back and listened to started getting into their old stuff, because I'm an old school punk rock dude. And so listening to their older stuff, I was like, oh, this is cool. You know, so I became a fan of them. I'm waiting for the new Quicksand record, you know?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I still go back and listen to all my Fugazi stuff. You know, I can't say there's any particular one, but I let my stream services or whatever, like I'll pick like new music, you know what I mean? And, or new hard rock or new this and that. And I just let it go, you know what I mean? Or I pick a band that I like that. And it's what I love about Pandora and Spotify's is that they do the algorithm for you. And you like a song, they're going to play more music like that. And so I get into a lot of stuff. And for me, that's enjoyable because it's not a particular band necessarily, but it's the, just the wide spectrum of what's out there, you know, that I love.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, the algorithm, because it is good for consumers. That way they have access to more music and newer things. But then there's all the other stuff we talked about financial compensation and everything. So, is there a fantasy tour package in your mind for Centershift that you want? That's something that's like your ideal tour package?
That's a good question. You know, I think the best tour packages a lot of times are the radio festivals because they have a little bit of everything. I would love to be out there with, you know, all my bros, you know, so, you know, us and System and what if they're going to tour again or play. But, God, you know, right now for us, I mean, I would love to do something with Turnstile. That'd be sick.
Yeah, that'd be cool, sure. Yeah.
But us and Quicksand and, you know, the Failure tour would be rad. Right now, I'd love to go out with anybody. You know what I mean? it'd be great to be back on the road. So I don't know. There's so many great bands. You know, anything would kind of be magical.
Now, talking about being back on the road and everything, you have played some shows with Centershift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you notice you know, you're a little bit older now. We've gone past this pandemic. I'm not sure whether or not you got the shot. You don't have to answer that, so we can avoid getting canceled on the internet. You know what I mean? But you know, folks, either way, either you have it and you have noticed physical. You know, some folks have noticed that their stamina is down and they can't breathe as well, or you don't have it and you have gotten the illness and the same thing. Your lungs are a little bit weaker or whatever. Have you noticed any of that for you? You know, have you had to do some kind of workout routine to kind of get back into stage shape?
You know, I never really consciously thought about it. My wife and I got COVID just randomly at the very end. Literally, the news was saying COVID's over, and we got it. And we never had a symptom, never had anything. We did the right, you know, we stayed and locked ourselves down, did the quarantine, did what they said to do. But yeah, we never had a symptom or anything like that. So I haven't noticed anything necessarily with me. And as far as fans, I've noticed that people just could not wait to get out. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, we're at a live show. And here in California, LA, you know, and during COVID, we traveled a lot. We went to Cleveland to do our record twice during COVID. I went to the Gulf Coast area twice. Nice. I traveled a lot during COVID, you know what I mean? So just to see the differences across the country of how people were handling it, you know what I mean? And then LA you could tell that everybody just needed to get out. It was slow, you know, and everyone practicing social distancing inside the venues and wearing your mask. And so I think the hindrance of that and the fear of being too close to somebody maybe, or, okay, I'm going to go, but I'm going to play it safe. You know, I think those things was really the only kind of difference. And now I'm just seeing packed shows. You know what I mean? We throw a lot of shows out here to help up and coming bands, you know, and with that, you know, the shows were always handled very well as far as protocol, but everybody was there and excited, you know? So I don't know that I see, or it's starting to, but you know, the amount of people moshing and, you know, the interaction of stuff like that, it's a little bit less than it used to be, but I think it's coming around.
Yeah. I mean, I remember my first show back was Between the Buried and Me here in LA, and it was very odd because I had the mask on. Everybody was kind of social. I felt good. I was in the middle, like kind of center, and there was space around me. So I was like, all right, you know, there's no people crowded in my face, and you know, it's fine. But then a little bit of moshing started. And I realized, like, oh no, I'm not ready for that. You know, I'm not ready for that. So I just backed away to like the back, you know, by the soundboard. Sure. But now I'm like, you know, Sunday I'm going to 3 separate shows. So I think we've moved past the fear
Yeah.
of that, I'm just glad, that you haven't noticed any physical, because I have talked to some folks, they like, now that I'm out, like I can't, my stamina's lower. I can't do a whole hour set or, anything like that, because they got used to being at home for 2 years,
Right.
that
Yeah.
or, the illness.
Yeah, it's hard to put a finger on it. I don't know. Maybe it's something there. I associate it to, I was always on Jack and Red Bulls, so I was Captain America. But
Yeah.
there's a difference there. But yeah, I haven't seen. I don't know. And without it being a political thing, because I really don't think it is. It's to each their own.
Yeah.
It really is. If you decide to do it because of others, awesome. I think that there's either way, there's a responsibility as our job, to, if we're the voice for people, I think we need to have the responsibility to express the right thing or whatever that right thing might be. You know what I mean? It's such a hard thing, you know what I mean? Because people want to make it political, and I think it's just about choice. It's going into the, the pro-choice and pro-life, all these topics that are just crazy. It's like,
just be nice.
Yeah.
What's so, like, why can't people just be nice? Like,
exactly.
If you have a difference of opinion, fine. Hey, I beg to differ, and then you just walk away. But why do we have to fight about it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, that's what this is about. It's about being an individual and having your own choices and thoughts.
Yeah. I agree 100%, man. So to kind of wrap up soon, because we're almost at an hour. The new EP, the one that's out now, A Different Shade, anybody can pick that up. But when should we expect of?
We're looking at July 29th is the next single to come out. And so directly after that, I think we have a date. But look, June, July, look August, September for the next EP.
Okay. And then, in terms of getting on the road, as soon as July or August as well?
If my phone rings right now, we'll see. Yeah,
well,
we're hoping definitely through summer, and then into we want to support this EP and definitely the next one, and then the full length. So I hope to be on the road as soon as possible. So keep looking at our website, at the Instagrams and stuff like that, the social medias, to see updates on that.
All right. And speaking of social media and everything, so where do people go to get everything for Centershift?
For Instagram, it's Centershift_OG. For Facebook, it's Centershift. I think it's Centershift Band. For Pandora, Pandora. Pandora, it's Centershift. For Spotify, it's Centershift. For Apple Music, I almost said iTunes. How funny is that? It's Centershift. Yeah. So basically, up there, it's from one you can get to the others. All the links are there, so we're easy to find.
Excellent. Well, hey, Jason, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Like I said, I was a big fan of Onesidezero, and I'm really excited that you're back and you're doing music that's, not completely like it's unique, but it's not like you're not doing dubstep or you're not doing a country folk album. You know what I mean? Like, it's still within the world of rock music and heavy music and melodic. And, it makes me very happy that you're out there and doing it. So, and I'm also very happy about, that you found your path of sobriety and everything. So thanks again, man. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. And July 30th, if you're around, come to the Troubadour, Boyd's Car.
Oh, yes, please. I'm down.
Right on. Thank you so much, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Okay, you too.